Hello, welcome back to the Trickway. Who's this guy? Gray, he's back. He's back.
I am back.
He had some personal stuff he had to attend to, but he's back. At least this week, anyway. We're glad to have him back. Yes, we are on the second episode of Star Trek Picard season 3, episode 2, called Disengage. Review style is normal. We're going to try and make it maybe slightly shorter because otherwise I'd have 4 pages of notes, and I may as well, as I was joking to Gray before, rewrite the script again, which I don't want to do. It'll be the same kind of idea. You'll get their talking heads kind of set up. So, right, Gray, we'll kick off, mate. As usual, just jump in wherever you want, and if I see any of your notes as well, I'll bring them up. I again enjoyed this episode. A nice solid continuation of the story arc. I noticed something at the very start. I wanted Gray's opinion on this. I have noticed it for a bit, but just because I'm enjoying Picard Season 3 so much, it gives it a bit more oomph. And that's the kind of generic opening section of every modern Trek show, where it's the Starfleet insignia, and it's whatever ship it is from the series, in this case the Titan, doing its little warp thing to make the insignia, and then it's the classic Star Trek little music. Every single time I've heard that, especially for Picard, Gray, every single time the kind of hair stand up in the back of my head. Thoughts? Are you a fan?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, anytime you use the real music and not some of the garbage they wrote, in between, I like it. I mean, sometimes people don't realize how important the music can be. They just kind of take it for granted. But if you were to take the music away, or if you were to write crappy music, you'd all of a sudden go like, something's wrong. I can't put my finger on it.
Yeah, and also as well, would you agree that for me, out of a score out of 10, we'll say at the end what our scores are, the music, if it's done really, really well, can actually give it as much as a couple of points. A bump up or bump down if it's done well. So, and it is in this case, brought it up to a really high score for Grey and I. So, not good. Keep doing that bit because I enjoy the hair standing in the back of my neck. Okay,
They
right.
keep doing the homages, or as they call it, the callbacks.
I prefer callbacks and homages. Yeah. And listen, Terry Metalis did say he's going. The music throughout this is fan bloody tastic. Terry did say he's going to do his best to honor. Is it Goldsmith? Name again. I'm bad
Terry
at this.
Goldsmith, right?
Goldsmith. Yes, he's going to do his best to honor him because he's not with us anymore, and we will do our best to make this music as close as what Goldsmith would have done. And he's true to that. The music is absolutely fantastic. So we actually start. Literally, we take off from. Actually, no. We go slightly back. We've got the Elios. I've spelled incorrectly. I now know the name. It comes out of warp with. I don't know the name of that song. I never bothered trying to Google a song because the name of the song's irrelevant. It sounded really. Do you know what song that was, Gray?
No, I know what you're talking about, but I don't recall right off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, it's not important, the title, but the fact was the effect of Terry's got the ships coming out of warp, and I love his sound effects. It's totally not practical, but he makes it sound like there's a big bang as soon as the ship comes out of warp, which, hey, I don't know warp mechanics. Maybe that's accurate, maybe it's not, but it sounds bloody great. I love the warp noise. I love how the ship comes out of warp. And the music, this kind of rock kind of tune is playing, and it's just fantastic. And it's maybe I think it was 2 weeks before. It was 2 weeks before.
The episode opened up. I said 2 weeks earlier or whatever.
That's it.
2 weeks ago.
Yeah. And our man,
it was good because we didn't really know what had happened when we watched the first episode. We didn't really know what happened. Like, how did they get here?
You do need a bit of backstory.
They fill it in, yeah.
As long as there's not too much backstory, as we're finding out in The Last of Us, which is upsetting Gray and a couple others in the chat. But anyway, Jack Crusher's up to no good. He's essentially bribing people he comes across. Now, my theory here is it generally is a medical ship, Gray, but Beverly and her son are doing kind of fringe type dealings and medical work on the outskirts of Federation space for people that can't manage it, and they are trying to cure these illnesses that Jack's talking about. But to get what they need and to get where they need to go to, they are bribing everyone they come across, basically. And they come across the Fenris Rangers, right? Our old pals, the Fenris Rangers. They come on board. They start doing their, investigation. They're looking through everything, lifting up all the units and all that, seeing the medical supplies. And then the Kiwi guy. So there's New Zealanders in space now, which is great.
Of course,
Love the Kiwis. I mean, it would have just been better if it was an Aussie with a really thick Aussie accent. G'day, mate. What you up to?
and they'd be going like, "What is he saying? Say that again. I can't understand."
Well, they would say that about me with my accent, mate. So there you go. So yeah, he gets to one crate and he lifts open a bottle of Romulan ale, and he's this medical, and he's like, "Yeah, sure," and medicinal purposes, and it's great for cleaning wounds and all that. And I should have said, and I need a stiff drink afterwards as well. And the ranger went, "Not truly trying to bribe me with that." And he's like, "No, I wouldn't try and bribe you with medical equipment." And he lifts up the next container and goes, "I'd bribe you with this." And it's guns. Which I found.
The guy's very happy to see it. Like, oh, yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, we'll negotiate, 25, no, 30%, yeah, 30%. And brilliant. So they take the crates off the ship. But then the Kiwi guy tells, literally, you hear him in the comms, tell the Mart lady, she's the Mart lady now, who's basically Vadik, Minor Plumber's character, that we found him. And I was like, "You grass bag."
I know. As soon as I heard that, I was like, "Oh man,
come on!"
Cut it off figures.
That's it. I prefer the Aussies now over the Kiwis. That's it. I'm sorry.
Well, these kind of folks we know would stab each other in the back if they're paid enough.
That's true. They're a bit like the Maquis, aren't they? Maybe slightly better, but they're like that. They do the right, or they do the wrong thing. For
look, it's pirates, right? They're space pirates, just like the old pirates in real life, right? Yeah, that's what they do.
Yeah, you're spot on, mate. That's pretty accurate. So Gray's going to chip in with this, but I know for sure because again we were touching on the music before. The score is, oh wow, Terry, perfect. The opening, the section we catch up to present time 2 weeks on, and it ended the end of the last episode and the start of this episode, the same scene of the Shrike coming on to or approaching the Elios. And that music, that it's like a deep kind of trumpet type orchestra noise, isn't it, Gray? But see, every time I heard it again, the hairs in the back of the neck for different reasons, I was like, "Oh shit," It's like that's doing its job. Terry's doing his job visually and audibly with this opposing figure of a ship, So, I think you said before, Gray, you absolutely love the music. You like the little musical notes. What do you make of that ship though? Because I think it's too much like that one from Star Trek Nemesis,
the design is kind of cool. It depends on what, I mean, obviously they're always looking for some kind of new ship design. I got to hand it to the people. When you have to come up with a ship, you really got to think about it, because if you come up with a ship that just doesn't look right, it just destroys the mood. And stuff. So it's kind of difficult. So would I have done something different other than the way that the Shrike looked? Yeah, probably. But it's not terrible. It's just that
it's kind of been done before. You were hoping the scimitar. That was it. Yeah.
Scimitar. And those designs of those ships with the arms that stick out like that, those are actually throwbacks. I mentioned this before. Babylon 5. No, because Babylon 5 came out with these ships years ago before anybody was doing this.
Oh no, true. But
I was just saying, back in the 90s, these ships are like, they were strange looking back then. Now it's kind of like everybody's making one. But
when they were designing those ships, they talked about basing them on actual birds. The design in Star Trek, I mean. But that's a Romulan thing. So like, she's not Romulan; she's very much human, by the looks of it. And she does describe later on, that I didn't note down, that she's talking to Sean, basically teasing him. Like, this ship is based on a particular type of bird that literally, preys on its prey and jabs and bites and takes little bits. And this ship's like that, because you'll see it later on the Elios and the Titan. It circles. It literally circles. I've never seen a ship do that before in Star Trek. I don't know. Just the way it kind of hovers round rather than sit there. It just goes round like that. And I'm like, okay, this ship's doing the job for me. So yeah. Anyway, we digress. Surprise, surprise. Gray's still a fan of the music. I'm still a fan of the music. Now, 709's very loyal here. She wants to save the boys, Picard and Riker, but Shaw is having none of it. Now, I'll grow to like Shaw a little bit more by the end of the episode, Gray, because, listen, he is a dick, right? There's no denying that. However, he is doing it because he has 500 souls on board, and he does talk about 500 souls over 2 souls, you know, and it's a very good point, mate. While they're legends, he's got to be that guy, I think, and he plays that role really well. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, it's really a difficult thing for him or for any captain. You got to play the line. What do? You go one way, you're an idiot. You go another way, you're an idiot. Either way, you still come out to be an idiot, but not really, because you have to take all things into consideration.
Yeah.
So it's a tough decision whether the guy's a dick or not. We grow to understand him better in this episode, which I think is a great thing to the writing. Whereas he started off us wanting to throw him out an airlock, now we're kind of like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
Stuff, which is good. That's a good thing. Character development, very important.
And he'll ease off even a little bit more by the end of the episode as well. We do have a funny moment on board the Elios where Jack Crusher calls Picard captain, and you just hear Picard in that typical British kind of way going, "Oi, oh, hey, what?" You know?
Yeah.
And he's like, "Hey, Admiral, sorry." He's like, "Listen, we don't have time for a history lesson. History remembers you as having one less pip." I love that line because it's true. Yeah. That's his most famous, being a captain with one less pip. So, big fan of that. Jack, I wasn't a fan of the first episode. Barely saw him. He was a bit of a pain in the arse, but I'm liking him a bit more now. Riker looking at the two of them, eyeballing both of them, going, "Something familiar about you."
Something, going on here.
Kind of look like him, and you sound like him, or English accent, I guess, anyway. But as he's eyeballing them up, Shrike starts opening fire, and I was like, Jesus, that's quick. But it took me a second to get this until I saw the scene after. It fires 3 torpedoes just to smash up the shuttlecraft so they can't escape. And the shuttlecraft's called the Savik. Nice little nod back to the original movies.
So back to the newly discovered fact that Savik was the captain of the original Titan.
Yes, we have found out recently. Yes, so keeping it, giving Star Trek fans little crumbs and bits, you know. So I have to apologise about the next bit, Gray. We have to talk about it. It's part of the episode. You love her to bits, Raffi Musica. She is. She's back on the planet. She's basically, been told not to find out. Well, she's not actually. She's on her La Serena. She's been told not to try and find out who bombed the Starfleet Recruitment Center. She basically just tells her handler on the screen, like, basically, screw you. I knew. Okay, no, I'm not going to say this bit because I'd spoil it until I get to the relevant bit.
No spoiler.
No spoilers, but this obviously does spoil it as we go through. She goes, "Screw you, I'm going to find out." And I was like, okay, I've got a tiny bit more respect for you, Raffi. You're doing your thing. Yeah. That's good. You do make a decent intelligence officer, so maybe just don't be on a starship. I'm happy with that. I noticed this bit in our notes, like, we don't really like Raffi very much. So this bit in the notes was 2 lines because it's an important point, but we move on. 7 tells Shaw, now this is a brilliant line, short and to the point. Gray and I both love this. She literally comes in and speaks to Shaw, and she says, "Listen, Captain, you can be the hero that saved heroes, or the captain that let 2 legends die." Mic drop, walked out. Shaw's like, "Oh shit." You enjoyed that line?
That one. Yeah, it's definitely good. There's a few good lines, which shows the writing is way above where it was before, which wasn't hard to beat because it was in the trash. But the point is, the writing's good. The writing's good.
Exactly.
And those little things really make it. You and I discussed this before on some other episodes that we reviewed. it only takes a couple of words sometimes to make the big difference. And these lines are perfect and make the whole scene work.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
important.
spot on. It literally comes down to a few words, like Gray said. That can make the difference for taking a score of an episode up and down by a point or two. It really can. Just talk nonsense or talk sense. That's what we want.
Right.
Again, I noted here, just because we love the score so much, and when I say the score, it's not just the music; it's the little sound effects and stuff as well.
Right.
That's what the score is. Everything all together. When the Shrike appears again, it is absolutely brilliant because it pops up a couple of times with that trumpet type noise. Picard's going round trying to. He's doing something. You don't know what he's doing initially on the Alias, and Crusher's basically, "What you doing, man? Let's, Picard's just talking about preventative measures because he can't really do much with the tools that he's got. And what he's actually doing, he puts out. I think he turns on like 3 out of 4 transport inhibitors. And when Jack's asking what you doing, he turns on the 4th one as he's trying to get beamed up, assumed to the Shrike. And he's like, "That's what I'm doing. That's why I've got the extra pit, pal, okay?"
Yeah, that's right. I know what I'm talking about.
Young Padawan, you know what I mean? So, smart from Picard. I'm loving the fact that he's actually thinking on his feet now and not being the gormless old man that he was in the first 2 seasons. And we will end on a nice little point about Picard, actually, that I think is really, really important. Now, Ray, this is the juicy part here. Now, you've marked down here, is it actually the ship called the Helios 12?
Yeah, technically.
What happened to the other 11? Are they all just shitting space dust now, yeah?
Beverly got them all blown up. No, I'm kidding.
No, the 2 Crushers went through 11 ships before, probably. No, its full name's Helios 12, but the Helios is in the midst of being tractored to the Shrike. I'd imagine that'll gobble that ship up, no problem.
Right.
But this is another brilliant bit. This is why the score's high for us both today. The Titan, literally, as the Helios is about to be ripped apart, which is dumb from Vadik. She's trying to tractor this ship up to her docking bay, I would imagine, her cargo bay, and it's starting to rip apart. You think, you stupid woman, you want Drac Crusher alive, presumably. Why would you do that? But anyway, it's kind of breaking apart, losing power. Beverly's pod loses power for a moment until Jack just smashes it, and power comes back on again. And just as it starts to fall apart, Titan comes in, and I've never seen this before. It doesn't start opening fire because that would be a offensive move and it would get ripped up. But it just literally goes right in front of the tractor beam and cuts it off with a nice little kind of musical score. And I thought, brilliant save, brilliant move. Gray notes here that he loved this scene. He rewinded it a few times. Gray, so did I.
Yeah.
So
I
did
had to
I,
watch
mate.
a couple.
I was like, yes, come on, Titan.
The other thing that was cool too, if you look at the physics of it, the Shrike is pulling it in, so it's obviously using its mass.
when it
to be able
goes
to pull it
back.
to it goes back exactly. So when he blocks the tractor beam, it's like snapping a rubber band. All of a sudden, the Shrike goes
reverse polarity. It just goes bouncing back.
Because it's just going like, whoa, that was pretty cool.
That was smart, mate. Yeah, I enjoyed that.
It shows they're thinking, which is good.
Give us common sense stuff. We know you're not scientists that write it, but you
yeah, I mean, you don't have to get every little thing right, but I mean, come on, use your head a little bit.
Stargate writers had scientists on board for consultation, by the way. So Star Trek, you should do more of that as well.
Actually, in the past, though, they always used to have some scientists involved in Star Trek. You
in
didn't
the
always
past,
hear about it, but right. They should have had it done more often in the newer stuff, but that's another story.
Exactly, mate. Exactly.
Probably no scientist wanted to work for like Discovery or something. They're all going, "No, you can't do that."
Grange watched season 3 and 4 of Discovery finally, and he said they are better than season 1 and 2. And I went,
"Yeah.
Yes, I told you, Gray. Trust me more."
Yeah, but I'm not gonna go nuts and say it's the greatest Star Trek series. The first years were terrible, but
it's not enough.
Right. If they had thought about it and started 3 and 4 already in the 32nd century, the way they did it, it would have probably went over well, or better, I should say.
Yeah.
But that's another story.
Yeah. Moving on, we have Raffi. I'm assuming they're still on Metalis Prime because it looks like
so,
it. Yeah, and I still love the name of that planet, Terry. I said the first episode, Gray. Terry deserves to name a planet after himself for saving Picard, Star Trek Picard. So you can have it, mate. We're not worthy.
Yeah. We'll let that one go.
We'll let that
No
one
problem.
slide. Big head and whatnot. So we're still in Metalis Prime, presumably. Raffi meets her ex, and they're talking about her kid and the fact she doesn't speak to her kid anymore. And Raffi's trying to get information out of him because he knows a few things. And her ex is literally going, listen, I'll either convey your message to your kid, maybe arrange a meet and greet, or I'll get your information you need for Starfleet. One of the two. What is it? I'm not doing both. And she kind of looks down. He goes, right, but that is it. She gets the information she needs. I mean, it is the right thing to do, but obviously this is it's character development great. It, makes me empathetic for her, so...
it's a shame that she was put in that position because her ex is a dick too, so...
He is, but after all this shit she
but I get
to
it.
the family...
I understand.
Yeah, I think she could have deserved it. Gray notes here that it's better from Raffi so far in this scene, this season. And it is, but we're still not a massive fan of Raffi in general. We're not. She's the weaker link of this whole episode. But maybe she'll be key.
And you know what I think I've noticed? Sorry, what I've noticed more in this season as opposed to the last season. Last season, I was blaming the writing because it was so bad. And I figure, I'm not going to blame any of the actors or actresses because the writing was awful.
Yep.
But the writing is better in this episode. But I'm not saying she's a terrible actress, but she's not that great. She's weak in the acting department. I don't get sold on.
Have you seen her in anything else, Gray? I'm not seeing her in anything else. I don't think so. I couldn't comment.
But I might maybe I'm nitpicking a little bit. But when everybody else
nitpick, no.
I'm sold on everybody else's parts, right?
Yeah.
I'm sold on their parts. But whenever she's acting, I'm not. She ain't selling it. Not the way the others are.
I think it's her type of role. She's probably into a lot more serious stuff than doing sci-fi kind of Starfleet type stuff. That's my theory. But great, right? She is the weaker part, despite being better in this season so far. So I mentioned here really briefly because I mentioned it before again. Man, the Shrike loves to circle ships like a bird of prey. Literally is doing this whole thing. It circles the ship. I'm loving it. Back on the Titan. I'm sure Gray will appreciate this as well. Back on the Titan, I think is it the comms officer? It's certainly not Sidney LaForge. It's one of the other officers says, Captain. All three of them turn around and go, what? Captain Shaw, Captain Picard, Captain Picard, Admiral Picard, and Captain Riker.
Used to be Captain Riker.
Yes, it's all confused. So all three of them, what? I found that pretty amusing. They get a intro finally to proper intro from Vadik, played by Amanda Plummer. And Gray and I, especially Gray, weren't sure about her at the start, well, before the season came out, because Terry came out and said that she'll be up there with one of the best bad guys of all time. And I think both of us, especially Gray, were like, yeah, right, okay, very good. But I'm telling you, Grace, I think I think he's accurate. Everything he's saying for the most part is true.
I'm gonna save judgment. I'm not saying she's a bad actress.
Oh, it's too little. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, she's Christopher Plummer's daughter, so I gotta hand it to her. But when I see her, I'm not saying she's bad. I'm gonna wait until the season plays out. But Christopher Plummer was top notch in that. I mean, he was so good in Star Trek 6. And he's good anyway.
Yeah, that famous line.
So I really and there's been other really great villains in the Star Trek series. So I'm not ready to say she's the best.
I'm saying okay. I'll reword that. She's got the potential to be true to Terry's vision of being up there, and I think that's pretty accurate. She introduces herself. Easy for me to say. I thought she killed it in this opening introduction, and she mentions a little thing I noted. Because Picard kind of pops round after she interrogates Shaw a little bit. She knows everything. She's not dumb. She's done the research on Shaw. She's talking about that an instant or something that happened in his past, which I'm sure we'll find out.
She's got a psychological profile thing, and I'm like, what?
She'll get under the skin, and it's not all about weapons, So, and then Picard kind of pops out, goes, what the hell's going on here, type thing, and she goes, Jean-Luc Picard. And she pronounces it, I mean, I butchered it. She pronounces it the way a French men or women would pronounce it, because it's a French name.
Yeah.
Everyone goes Picard. It's probably not. It's Picard. He barely pronounced the D.
Picard.
He basically pronounced the D. That's the way the French do it.
Yeah.
And I love that. She's essentially wanting Jack Crusher because, as we find out, he's a criminal, more or less. And yes, Gray does note here there is more to Jack than it seems. He's doing the wrong thing for the right reasons with his wheeling and dealings. Got many aliases, many different names, and we know that he's up to no good. So that's it. He's a criminal. He should be handed over. That's it. Now, the next part I found fascinating. This is flexing. This is Amanda Plummer. Just look at the size of the guns I've got. She literally lowers her shields so the Titan can scan the ship. Right? Shaw cuts off his officers at announcing all the weapons in this ship. I mean, honestly, he keeps on going and going and going and going. And Gray knows
800 and something torpedoes, 30 of this kind, 10 of that kind.
You're like, well,
missiles.
She's packing, basically, as Riker said earlier in the episode. You put here, Gray, Shrike is loaded for bear. What does that mean?
I got a funny feeling you're going to bring that up. There's an expression in the U.S. that you're loaded for bear, meaning if you're going after a bear.
Or a bear. Right.
Right. A bear is huge, and you better have something, that's going to take them down, or you're in a lot of trouble.
Bear spray.
Yeah, I don't think so. Do that to a grizzly bear that's about 20 feet tall on his hind legs. I don't think that's going to work. No.
Give him a shotgun then. Okay. So
they'll just laugh at that.
It's excuse my French here. Once we were coming up, as we would say in the UK, especially in Scotland, it's geared to the tits. Meaning it is absolutely packing, it is stacked. This thing has got umpteen weapons. And the thing is, the Titan is an exploratory vessel. It's a science vessel. It's not heavily armoured.
It's a peanut.
Which I respect, because great, most series we watch of Star Trek, not all of them, but most of them, the main ship is not heavily equipped, but it's bleeding edge because what it's doing. Even Voyager wasn't as heavily armed as the others, but it was fast, it was nimble. It was far better science ship, in my opinion, than the Titan. But this is not packing, so Shaw's having to play smart here. So this is another reason why I don't blame him for going in pew 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 bang bang. Right. And by the way, at one point, Gray will have to nip away for a quick moment, so I'll probably just quickly pause it. But Gray, if I totally forget, you just remind me, because I'm sometimes go off on an angle.
We're good. So far.
So I love. Dude, I've seen this episode twice. I'm going to keep doing this, I think, watching stuff twice. Did you notice how...
stuff you didn't see,
Exactly. I watch it once to enjoy it, and then the second time I watch it and take notes. Did you notice Vadik was smoking a cigarette the whole time?
Yeah. That's a complete throwback, because that's a throwback all the way to the 40s, when you used to have all the old pictures with all the old gangster guys or smoothing.
Yeah. She was brilliant.
Yeah, so that was kind of... Cigarettes still exist in the 25th century.
Yeah, if you want them. He wants to show them a token of her sincerity, how serious she is about smashing them up if they try and run. She gives them an hour to hand over Jack Crusher, basically. An hour? I know it helps the story, but you demand it within a minute, 5 minutes for him to be transported over, you blow them up. An hour? What is this with bloody storytelling? It's not accurate. It doesn't make sense.
First of all, you have to build the suspense, so they do it.
But she likes nitpicking, doesn't she?
But right. But second of all, it's her psyche. She enjoys them having to
playing with her prey.
Right. Exactly. So she wants them to be boiling in it for the hour. And because she's supremely confident, because she's got 90,000 weapons. What is she worried about?
Exactly.
She's got. I got you by the hairs. I'll just play around with you, and that's all I want.
She knows that as well, yeah, because Shaw knows he's outgunned. She knows that Shaw knows that he's outgunned, so they have to play it smart. So okay, I think I've answered one question. Never mind, move on. Our part in Shaw is not part in Shaw. Our present, if you like, is to use this tractor type weapon that she's got to grab onto, and because the Shrike's so nimble and it does the circling thing, he grabs onto it with the tractor beam, the Helios, and then literally sways and then goes boom and throws it into the path of the Titan. I'm like, shit, I've never seen that before ever in Star Trek, and I love it.
That was
I want
pretty cool.
more. Yes. Now,
in fact, even people on the ship are commenting like, what's this? How did she do that?
what the look in Shaw's face was like, oh shit, shields up, emergency maneuvers. I'm like, you're not getting out. Even if the Defiant's not getting out of bloody way in time for that, So, and it does. It smashes. We see it from the trailer, don't we? Before it smashes into the top of the top part of the hull of the Titan. The shields do go up in time with 7 and 9 states, but shields are designed more for energy disbursement and absorption, right?
Energy weapons.
They're not used to
things and all that stuff.
They can help with physical stuff, kinda, but it gets through partially through the shields, and it does literally score right through the top of the hull. And you see that in the trailer with the scorch marks along the top, and that it's literally cut into the top of the hull a bit. So yeah, we both loved that. They're asking about this weapon. Gray notes this. We're asking about the weapon. Sidney LaForge starts explaining the engineering physics that her dad taught her, which I like. Any part of physics can be turned into a weapon if you want, essentially. Shaw doesn't cut it off. He dismisses it, which I thought was a bit disrespectful to one of the finest engineers in Starfleet.
Now, I don't know if he was really dismissing his fact that she kept on talking about it, and it was like, okay, I get it. So
yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
You're right, fine. But I liked it though, because that was another nice little callback, and stuff, which is cool.
Yeah, I like
something she learned from her father, regardless of the fact that she's at the helm and technically is not an engineer. She still knows stuff. Can't help it. Her father's like one of the best engineers around, with the exception of Scotty. And
that could be another episode, the best engineers of Starfleet, because we've got the first officers being lined up as a special. So, any other specials you want to see, please comment below, guys. We're willing to entertain probably most of them. Now, Shaw surprisingly gets taken to the brig. He's talking to Shaw takes Jack to the brig. Picard and Riker are talking to him in a ready type room, and the officers come in, and Jack's like, "Yeah, pretty much this was going to happen." That's where Shaw tells him that he's basically a criminal. He's got all these aliases. He's going to jail, basically space jail and whatnot, and I'm probably going to hand him over to Vadik, which is wrong in any kind of context. And I think in Oakgrey, they're not in Federation space anymore, so he's kind of, whether you agree with it or not, he maybe generally seriously has to think about handing him over for the safety of everyone on board.
Yeah. I mean, again, the age-old tough question: what do you do?
Well, we'll find out what we do. Not quite that, but close enough to that. The bit remember the bit in the turbo lift? Picard and Riker are talking to each other, and Riker's like, "You're not getting it at all. You're not seeing it, are you? What I see, just looking at him."
Yeah.
And Picard's he does see it, but he's kind of not admitting it. That Jack is Picard's son.
He doesn't want to say for sure. He's just kind of like, I don't know.
He's like, I never.
Riker's Riker's funny because he's his friend, and he's sitting there going, "Dude, I mean, come on, I got eyes."
He's like, yeah, he didn't. He never wanted kids, really. Well, did he want kids? I think he was.
Really, I think he never was.
Great with kids. He wasn't great with kids.
Yeah.
On the Enterprise D, he asked Riker in the first episode, the second episode of the two-parter, "I'm not good around kids. Would you keep me in line?" If that was the second part of the first episode. So, but yeah, it's everyone bloody obvious. Picard goes down to the brig where Jack is, and he interrogates him. And he's like, "Who's your father?" Basically, was one of the lines that came away. "Who's your daddy?" Who's your daddy? He should have said that. It would
have been great if he had said it just like that. It would have been like,
"Who your daddy?"
Like, what?
To which Jack replies, "I never had one." I can understand where the man's coming from.
Because he probably doesn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
His mom probably never told him.
He does say that he's willing to turn himself over to save his mother, though, which is honourable. You want to save your mum. Respect, my man. Respect. Now, as the episode's kind of getting close to an end, this is a better bit with Raffi. How are you for time, Gray? You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. No worries. You'll let me know, I'm sure, mate.
Mhm.
Raffi arranges to get a meeting with a Ferengi called Sneed. Now, he's the broker between who we thought was the guy that blew up the Starfleet recruitment center. Now, there's a Romulan called Toluco, right? Which I'm sure that was a character's name from Better Call Saul, which I think Termitalis is a Better Call Saul fan. She gets this meeting, and Gray notes here that the Ferengi is the wickedest, wildest, scarier, more serious looking Ferengi we've seen so far, because they're all a comedy act, really. But he looks like he's the real deal. He's a proper businessman. He's a proper scumbag. I like that character.
Yeah. It's not beyond the realm of thinking that some Ferengis are like that. It's just that we never really saw that. So it was kind of different for us to see somebody like that. I'm like, wow, this guy's like, he's not fooling around.
He's not holding any punches as well. He doesn't believe that Raffi worked for this Toluco, right? Because she's trying to call his bluff, but he's trying to call her bluff. So he's like, listen, take some of these drugs and prove it, because when you're under the influence of the drugs, I think you're more likely to tell the truth, kind of thing. And she does. That's the thing we see in the scene where this spray thing goes into her eye.
In our eyes, yeah.
And they call it Shredder, which is I don't know if Termitalis is a Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles fan, but I just love that little callback because it kind of rips you apart and brings you back together in terms of the feeling. And she still stays staunch. She still is, I am working, with Toluco. I'm not working with Starfleet. She always like, well done, Raffi. But he's saying, Sneed, like, I'm impressed you're holding up so well, because it's difficult to hold up under that. And I think, although it's not said, I think she is Section 31, or at least I don't know, Gray. Maybe not Section 31, but just Starfleet intelligence in general. Maybe not the higher level.
Sneed does mention Section 31.
He does.
He did say it. Oh, yeah.
So maybe
he says when he was smelling, he goes, I smell Starfleet. And he goes, Section 31? He goes, yeah, it's Section 31. She's like, oh.
Now, it turns out Sneed's actually the real brains of the operation. Sorry for a quick pause in the middle there. Gray just had to quickly nip and do something really important. As I was saying before, Gray,
yeah, we were talking about Toluc in Section 31.
I was checking. I did actually resume recording, and I did. See, this is uncut. This is raw. This is after dark. We don't like editing.
Very raw.
That, and I'm very lazy. Very raw, exactly. Yeah. As I was saying before, Sneed turns out he's the brains of the operation. Gray. He knows she's talking bullshit because he's literally got Toluco's head in a bloody box behind him. I'm thinking,
I wasn't expecting that one. I'm like, oh, okay.
I'm maybe taking the Ferengi slightly more seriously now, especially this guy.
The thing I liked about it too, though, is it's a classic kind of move that they've done similarly in past, again, gangster kind of movies or whatever. Yeah. You've seen it before, but you weren't. But it was definitely not expected.
Oh hell,
and all of a sudden he goes, "Well, I know you're not working for Toluc because here's Toluc," and he holds the head up.
She should have started sobbing or something. Went, I can't believe you killed my boss. What did you do that for? Like, no,
it would have been more funny though, or as if the head started to talk. Now that'd have been cool.
Oh Jesus Christ, mate! Animatronics or something, yeah.
We go like, yes, I'm dead.
He should have done that. Actually, he should have grabbed the mouth and just went, "Yes, hello."
That'd have been more sadistic, right? Just like,
but let's not make it too dark.
God, are we bad?
Like your Doomcock guy was pretty dark. He was talking about it being very dark. We don't want it to go down that dark. That's too much.
Yeah.
So literally, as the shit's about to hit the fan, like Raffi just literally stabs Sneed's hand to basically go, screw you, man. And it's about to kick off. Everyone's about to phaser Raffi, and then all you see is the middle goon behind her gets a batleth. I didn't note that down in the notes because I don't know how to spell batleth, and I'm not going to try and find out. Batleth right through the chest, and it was green blood. Green blood. Right, there you go. And then straight away, we all knew it was bloody Worf. Now, It is Worf,
Okay.
obviously. He kills everyone, destroys them, and then one last swipe, Gray, from the back left to take off Sneed's head clean.
Clean off, right?
I was
Done.
like, it's a good thing. Is Metallis Prime in Federation space because he can he do that? Is that
No,
legal?
I don't think it's in space.
I don't think it
But
is.
remember, we're giving. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. But basically, you eventually see Rafi hits the floor, and she's kind of like, from the drugs and stuff, and then you see a kind of a fuzzy picture of Worf, and then of course as the scene plays out, you see Worf carrying Rafi over his shoulder,
Yeah,
and
I'll
then
let you do this bit. You like this bit, so do I. But I'll let you have the
right, and
pleasure
then
of
he
this
and
bit.
then he says, "I told you not to engage." So now you know that earlier, when she kept on talking to the computer, to her handler, right? Because they're in underground or secret operations.
Mhm.
We don't know who the handler is, and with that one line, again, lines are important. That one line that Worf says was "Bong." He's the handler. He was the one in the intelligence that she was talking to. So
Now,
now we know
yep.
that Worf has been working for secret intelligence or possibly Section 31 for I don't know how long.
Did you think he was the handler before? I did.
Yeah, I
I
didn't.
did. I did. I don't know why. I was just like, where's he going to come into this? How? I just thought it was him. And do you know what another reason? Because you remember seeing him, he was on that same planet in the trailers. That's why I knew as well, Gray, putting two
Yeah,
together.
that's true. I didn't look into that one. So in a way, though, I'm kind of glad I didn't know because it surprised me. So that was worth it,
Mm.
and
What
stuff.
one thing Gray didn't mention, and I was trying to give him the pleasure of this moment, but he didn't take it. Was
Oh yeah.
soon as it pans, he's carrying her, Rafi, and it starts on Rafi's head, and then it moves right across the camera to him, and then the bloody classic clanging music from the original movies comes
Oh
on.
yeah, of
Da, da,
course.
da,
Yeah,
da,
yeah,
da,
yeah.
da, 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 da. And I was just like, yes. And he's like, I told you not to engage. I was like, yeah, my boy's back. Yes. You must have been cheesing at that part, Gray, like
Oh,
big
I loved it.
smile.
I mean, again, I always, because I'm a TOS guy from the beginning, the music was the original series from Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Jerry Goldsmith, and that piece of Klingon music is the best ever created Klingon music,
Yeah,
hands down. Drop the mic. That's it. And ever since he created that piece, many of the movies and other things when
I've
Klingons are
tried to
involved will
copy it.
always call back to that and play a little bit of it.
Yeah.
Always. It's so identifiable that that to Trek fans, if weren't looking at something and you had headsets on and you heard it come on, you go Klingon.
Gray and I were
Yep.
talking before about, in fact, remember Gray in Star Trek Prodigy, where we're like, there's little musical notes to Voyager and stuff, but we want to hear
Sure.
some, at least a few seconds of the actual proper theme without you bloody
Yep.
chopping and changing it so much. We're getting
Right.
that now.
Yeah.
It's not 110% the pure original part, which is fine. It's more or less the full thing from the original. He's just tweaked it slightly to work in
Yeah.
that scene, and it was brilliant.
And there's lots of things like that. If you go
Yep,
back and watch the episode a second time,
yep,
you start
which I
picking
did.
up little bits and pieces of music from the motion picture Wrath of Khan, even a little bit of Search for Spock, and you're
Yep,
hearing these little here's and little there's and little there and little here, and it's like, yeah, okay, it's all there,
yeah, yeah.
definitely all there.
I love the little touch. Gray's right. Terry is basically. I was going to say something. I'm not going to say what I was thinking because it would be inappropriate for this podcast. But he's teasing us in certain locations, and he's doing it very
Mm.
well as Trekkies, giving us
Hmm.
little crumbs all the way through that are just feeding their excitement. Now,
Yep.
I like this part. Jack back in the brig. Sorry, he is. He's basically speaking to the security officer, and he's demanding to know what the force field strength is. Apparently, he was quoting regulations. Didn't know that was a regulation, but the officer looks at him like, "It's force 10, like the highest. It's why are you asking?" Kind of thing. You're a peasant behind the
Yeah.
force field. You're going to do nothing. And he's got a little device, Jack, there, and he's like, just so I can do this. Boom, boom. Turns it to actually dial 10, and then the force field comes down for a second. He then gives the Starfleet officer, we would call it in Scotland a Glasgow kiss. It's a Glasgow kiss. It's a Glasgow kiss. When you go headbutt someone, that's a Glasgow kiss. And he
Got
absolutely
it.
smacks him, decks him, and the force field goes back up. So it's great. It's just like a temporary disruption to the Force. See what I've done there, Field?
Yes,
And it goes back up again. Security officers on the deck. Now, Gray, your point here is very, very valid. What was it you didn't like? And I actually agree with you. I didn't pick this up.
Yeah, this is probably the weakest part of the story in the whole episode, which got me nuts. I'm sitting there going like, so before you put somebody in the brig, you scan him thoroughly.
Yep.
B, you pat him down like the old days
Yeah.
to make sure that they don't have anything on them. So this dude is holding a device about this big, and you mean to tell me that the scans don't see it, the pat down didn't see it? Please give me a break. That was really weak. And then secondarily weak, because you reminded me of this, was that this guy is like a thin looking nobody with not really many muscles, but of course he takes on the beefy guy and headbutts him and knocks him out. I don't go with that
No,
one
I
either.
do buy that part. The first part I don't buy like you. The second part of him
First
giving
part
him
bad.
a Glasgow kiss is yes, because it doesn't matter about your strength. If you can put enough force into a headbutt to someone else's head, mate, you can knock him out. So I do buy that part. But the first part, yeah, I'm with Gray with this one. I'm sorry. And how could they fix that? One line of dialogue, a few scenes later. Oh, how did he get out? Oh, he's got this little device that's kind of experimental tech that nothing could pick it up. It's a bit
but
of
to be honest,
easy way out,
to
but
be
it
honest
works.
with you, but to be honest with you, that there's no way you can get out of that one. Once they did it, it was already a sin committed. You can't go back on that one. You just can't. You can't explain it away.
You don't think that one
They
line
had
would
to
fix it?
No, because then it was shown that they were covering up a bad mistake. They should have come up with something totally different and original, something,
Oh,
but
yeah.
not that. That was just way too easy. It's just like, oh yeah, hey, boom, and I'm out. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Well, fair enough, man. Fair enough. It's not a bad opinion to have. It's getting close to the
Hey,
countdown.
if that was the worst part of the whole episode, no problem, because the rest of it was great. So,
yeah, that probably was the worst part of the episode, actually, just because it was a bit of a lapse of storytelling. Now, the countdown clock to an hour is almost up, and Riker basically disappears. You see him literally ask about Beverly's condition in sickbay. It turns out she's stable now, and he literally is like, good. Picks up a medical syringe in the side. The nurse is like, oh, what are you doing, man? She's got to be like sleeping here, relaxing, having, bloody cocktails for the next fortnight. Like, leave her be, man. And he just wakes her up, and that's all you see. They're on the bridge as the countdowns. He's about to literally unlock the transporters. This is Captain Shaw, because at this point, Jack Crusher is in the transporter bay with a phaser to the transport officer. Let me out. I want to beam across there. He's having none of it. Red alert, not red alert, security alert. 7 of 9's kind of waltzing in, and how quickly she carries herself so well as a Starfleet officer, Grace. She was designed for it. Straight away, man. At reflexes, she's in her 50s, Jerry Ryan. Reflex, phase it up like that instantly to Jack's head. Standoff. And it does turn out he did want to beam himself across. It was very obvious and apparent there.
Sure.
Shaw's about to literally say, let him go across, unlock the transporters. But then, and I love this bit, it just melted my heart a little bit, Gray. Beverly walks onto the bridge, and she's looking old now, man. I know that sounds harsh against Kate McFadden, but she comes on, looking a lot older than she did back in the day, with Riker taking her on, chaperone at the bridge, and she's got a tear in her eye, and she kind of looks sad, but she looks down for a moment, and she looks up at Picard. Picard looks at her, and just that look, he knew straight away.
Yeah, he knew.
That is my son, and he literally says that. I love this bit. This is Admiral Picard jumping back into Picard moment, and he goes, delay those orders, lock it down, lock everything down, and do not unlock the transporters. To what Shaw says, you're going to get us all killed. Hope you know what you're doing. He's basically saying, Picard, it's Admiral's orders. Now, he then admits, yep, he's my son, so it's not going to happen. Now, Gray and I have got a point on this, and I think we know the answer to it, Gray. Like we said before, and it's
Mm.
been mentioned in the first episode, when Shaw says this himself, you are retired, which means you do not carry any legal weight for orders in Starfleet anymore. However, Gray brings this up, and I think it's a very good point. That's technically true, Gray, yes. So Shaw could go, no, screw that, I'm in charge, counter those orders. But everyone, soon as he says, stop, drop what you're doing, lock everything down, everyone does it with just a second thought, without a second thought even, because it is still Admiral Picard, retired or not, Gray.
Right. He's an admiral, number one. Number two, there's no doubt about it. Just like Kirk and other ones, before and after, he is a legend. Period, hands down. And so when an admiral all of a sudden yells, he didn't just say, "Oh, belay those orders." He yelled it out with authority in his voice. And so that, and he's an admiral, and he is a legend, all kind of combined to like the crew just went, "Oh shit, okay, we better listen to him."
And Shaw didn't
And even
argue.
at that point, and even Shaw backed down. He still backed down, you know, begrudgingly or gracefully, if you want to call it that. But he did back down,
Yeah.
at least for a minute.
And this is what touches on my point from before, Gray, when I said Shaw is and probably will remain a dick. However, he eased off a little bit. He was doing the right thing for the right reasons, or the wrong thing for the right reasons, and he's softening up a little bit by going, "You'll get us all killed," sitting in the captain's chair with even almost a little wry smile. He's basically going to let the big boys, the real boys, take charge now, essentially. I was hoping he would die soon, but maybe not.
So now I don't want him to, because I'm starting to like him now.
Yeah, true. If he plays ball, great. These guys, you're forgetting, Riker and Picard know how to have their cake and eat it, which not many people know how to do, right? So let them do the thing of saving the
I have
galaxy.
I have another theory, and you tell me what you think of this. I have a funny. I could be totally wrong. I have a funny feeling that Shaw is actually now secretly liking this.
Oh yeah,
Because because Shaw, remember, has never been involved in something quite like this. He even admitted to that.
He always plays by the book.
And I'm wondering, right deep down, if he's kind of like, you know what, this is messed up, but it's kind of cool.
And another thing to add to that point, Gray, I wouldn't be surprised if he admits at some point throughout the season, maybe towards the end, I see why you boys like this, or you do what you do, or respect, or something along those lines, So, yeah.
But I'm never doing it again.
Yeah, but I'm never doing it again, exactly. Now, as I mentioned here, as we're almost wrapping up the episode, Shaw is now sorta, kinda playing ball, Gray, right? He's still Captain Dick, right? That's what I'm calling him. But he's playing along a little bit more, and we both say we like him a little bit more now, Shaw. Now, Vadik in the background's just come onto the view screen here, and she's looking for their answer. Which point, this is brilliant, this is the hairs, the back of the neck. Picard just turns around for a moment and just goes, I wish he'd said, yeah, my answer is, but he just goes, engage, properly, authoritatively, boom, engage, as the Titan then fires a volley of torpedoes right at the Shrike. I don't know why he even bothered bloody doing that. It never even made a dent, but it does it.
Distraction. It's distraction.
I mean, is it a distraction? I mean, maybe it was blinding something. I don't know. But it does fire a volley of torpedoes at the Shrike as the Titan then makes a bolt for it into the nebula. And I note here, why is it always a bloody nebula? And worse than it. Always a nebula, isn't it?
Well, you saw what I wrote there. I wrote down it's an old trick. And this is the second weak point, I think, in the script. Not super weak, but weak in the fashion that it's a trick that's been used too many times now. And they really should have maybe gave it a little more thought and come up with something a wee bit different. But it's just like you saw it coming. There's no way you didn't see it coming. They're standing right next to the nebula. They're going like, "Oh, I wonder if it's going to go in the nebula."
Why didn't they warp away? Presumably they can't that close to.
That's what I thought they were going to do. I thought they were just going to warp away, and it would be a chase scene, which I thought probably would have worked better. But again, I get it. I'm not saying that going into the nebula is a bad idea in light of what was going on and the fact that the ship's more overpowered than you are.
Yeah.
But we've already seen it, man. Just think of something else.
Well, it did. The Titan did warp initially when it warped into the tractor beam of the Shrike when it was on the
Sure.
Helios. It warped right into
Yeah, it's
that,
not that it can't warp.
so it can. It
I
can.
guess I guess apparently they thought that if they went to
It can't
warp, that
escape.
The Shrike would overcome it anyway.
Well,
Okay, fine.
I don't see how, Gray, because remember the first episode, Picard goes to 7. Like I presume you're
Oh,
going
it
to
goes
tell engineer we're going
warp
999.
9.99. Yeah,
You don't get faster than that in the warp scale, so
right.
the Shrike can't overtake it unless it's got bloody transwarp or slipstream or whatever the feck it's
Well,
called.
it would depend on when it went into warp
It
to
would
go
match its
after the
speed. It would
Titan.
match its speed and still
Right.
smash it
And
from behind.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, but I still would have rather seen a chase scene where they might have had a few extra seconds or a minute to come up with something different than just diving into the nebula. And again, I'm not saying it's not a bad idea to dive into the nebula. I'm just saying that, come on. I mean, you want to
Uh,
just come up with something new here. Don't quit going with the nebula all the time.
I think that'll be next week's episode, Gray. I've got a funny feeling because we do see in the trailer it getting chased at warp and not at warp. So yeah, there's going to be a lot more
Right.
between this. More.
Well, next week I'm
Ripcord.
assuming, although we don't know yet, but next
There'll be a
episode is
fight.
going to be it'll be Wrath of Khan kind of stuff where they're in the nebula.
Yeah,
I know it's coming.
and you'll see you'll see the Titan run away a lot because again they're all not stupid, especially Shaw. They know they can't compete with this thing. They have to get away as quickly as possible, otherwise they're
Yeah.
all space dust. But they do know that Jack Crusher is really wanted, so they know that the ship can't get destroyed. It can get badly hurt, but it won't get destroyed. That gives me faith that the Titan will survive the season.
Right.
Now, as they disappear,
The thing I'm trying to figure out though, and we don't know yet because we haven't seen enough of the episodes yet. But I mean, I understand that Jack is a criminal, but we've always said that there's more to it than that. Because why are they going through so much trouble to want to keep him alive? I mean, at some point, if you really think that he's such a bad criminal and he did all these things, against you, blow the crap out of him. I'm not going to sit there.
no,
There's going to come a point where
there's a bounty
I'm
for
not
him,
going to
mate.
take it.
There's a bounty for him. They want to capture him
No,
to get a lot of money.
No, I get it. But what I'm saying is that okay, so the bounty's nice, but at a certain point, there's other bounties out there. Okay, and you're gonna get pissed off at some point. Just say I'm blowing them up.
They're
That's
bounty
it.
hunters, man. It's kind of their shtick. I think 7 says is one bounty hunter to
Maybe.
another. I know how they work. But no, you're not wrong either. As they disappear, the Titan into the nebula, Vadik is absolutely cheesing this. She's loving it. She's kind of almost giddy with joy. She's
Yeah.
like, I was hoping they would do this. Yes, I get a chase and I get a
She's truly wicked and out of her freaking mind. So yeah, that works.
Yeah, grey notes here. She's a wicked SOB. Yes, she is. She tells her crewmen to follow them, and again we hear that Shrike noise of like the big trumpet type noise that puts the hairs in the back of my neck as it turns round, and it's very manoeuvrable. This ship for its size, actually surprising. The thing that I put at the very end here, Gray, and I've done it for a reason. We talked about how, and this is down to, I don't think Patrick Stewart, but more the writing. The first two seasons, Picard looked and seemed like an old, frail, stupid man, which was, while he's older and a bit frail in real life, we were disappointed by that. But see, this season, he is more like his old self from TNG and the TNG movies. He's got more authority about him. He's more sure of himself. What do you think?
I think what it is, and I have to give credit to the writing and to Patrick Stewart, is the fact that yes, there is no doubt when you watch season 3 that Patrick Stewart's getting older and Picard is getting older. So they didn't. How can I say this? They didn't want to make it sound like he was young. So they wrote it in such a way that he could be an older guy that might not be quite as quick as he used to be. But when shit hits the fan, like they say, he can call up the extra energy he needs at that time, like the scene on the bridge.
Yeah.
And that's perfect. So okay, he could be a little slower. He is, that's fine. He's older. But when you interject the proper scenes at the proper times, at the proper moments, all that blends in and makes total sense. There is one line, I was going to bring it up earlier, that did also PO'd me. There was one point where Vadik first saw Jean-Luc Picard and knew who he was. and she gives the line Jean-Luc Picard in his synthetic flesh.
Oh yeah.
Uh, and I'm sitting there going like, Terry, I know you have to do, you
He has to
feel
do
you
that.
have to do. I don't know why. Some callbacks to season 1 and 2, but why do you have to keep pushing that point, dude? I have totally blocked my memory that he is an android. I don't want to believe it. I don't believe it because it was one of the stupidest things they ever did. Everybody in fandom agrees how stupid it was.
I'll tell you why.
And pretty much everybody in fandom is taking the same attitude as
I,
we take, and we just pretend that never happened.
I'll tell you why,
And they
Gray.
have to bring it up again. And I'm like, oh.
You're right. Unfortunately, they do have to mention it, and I think it's for
No, they
point of.
don't. That's the whole thing. I don't
See,
care what anybody says.
great,
No.
great. Hear me out. Hear me out. Season 1 and 2 were shit. We didn't like them. We know this, right? And we try to forget them as much as possible. However, I think in this scene it had to be put in because someone could tune in to watch season 3 because they see it's a reunion of TNG and not know what he is or what happened. I think that's the main reason. Yeah, do you know?
No, I'm not saying I disagree with you. I'm just saying
You're just not happy
I
with
don't
it.
care. This is one of the times where I don't give a crap what everybody thinks. It shouldn't be noted. It shouldn't be talked about. Acknowledge that it was a mistake and don't bring it up. And yet they had to bring it up, and I'm like, damn, why'd you do that? You're shattering my bubble every time because I don't want to know this.
That probably
And
took it
it
down a
shows
point.
because I was watching 1 or 2 other reviews by some other people, and they were saying the same thing. That they're in fact, they're making fun of it, going like, he's a robot, so he shouldn't be having these problems, And I'm like, ugh.
I wonder
I mean,
I wonder what's going to happen when Beverly finds out that he's a robot now. I'm assuming she knows, but like, let's just say she did. Like, oh
don't
no,
even
you're a
no
robot.
now you're making me go crazy.
What does he
I
need
could
to
just
do?
see that.
Did he plug himself into the mains every night then, Gray? Like what?
That's it. Yeah, just like an electric car. Hold on a minute.
Where's his cord? Where's his cord, man? That's what I want to know.
I mean, because it brings up a whole series of problems. Because first of all, they never should have done it. Period. That's the biggest problem. But then they go, well, we put you in a body that's gonna age and creak and be, just like you are a real old man. Really? If you're gonna put him into, if you really truly are gonna put him into a robot body, you have him live for another 100 years, and you get a new actor to play him that looks kind of like him. So you opened up a whole can of worms that doesn't make sense and continues to poison everything whenever it's mentioned.
Yep.
So it's kind of like, you guys got to grow up, admit you made a mistake, don't talk about it anymore.
I have to agree with you, man. Yeah. I mean, hey, I understand why they done it. I just don't like that they done it, So, but yeah, no, like, okay, Picard is signing off. Picard is more like his old usual self, which I love. More accurate to what he should be. Bit older, frailer, but still got this and still got that. Still commands the respect, which is the main thing.
Sure.
I gave this an 8 out of 10. I actually put 9 out of 10 and actually changed my mind, went down to 8 out of 10.
I saw you change it.
Yeah, he was on the notes at the time watching me, man. And Gray, what did you give this out of 10 and why?
I gave 8 out of 10 as well. And the only reason I probably wouldn't have gone a half point or maybe in a full point higher was the couple weak spots that we already went over.
Yeah.
That was really the reason. But other than that, I mean, and then to be funny, I was just saying 2 excellent episodes in a row. That's a record for Picard because they couldn't put 2 good shows together at all
Between 2 seasons.
Right, exactly. So it's not in a row, that's for sure.
Yeah, safe
I
to
mean,
say.
the nice thing is this is so well written and so well with the homages and the callbacks and the proper characters and stuff. The only thing I don't know if I agree with, but I slightly agree with is some reviewers are saying like, even though they really like the show, don't get they're saying like you're introducing everybody from the next gen cast too slowly. So they're going like by the time you get them all together, it's going to be mid-season.
They're not all going to be all together for that long though, Gray. Terry said that. They take a while to catch up, and when they all catch up together, they don't get a lot of time all together. So yeah, that sucks.
I'm not right. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that I wish I would kind of like to see them all get together a little sooner.
Yeah.
And so they could run around the universe in a proper ship and do their thing. And we're going to see some of that. It's just that we're going to see it later, and then before you know it, the series will be over, and it'll be kind of like, darn, man, they weren't together.
Season 4. The next generation continues. Yeah, no.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I don't know.
Great spot on there. We'll wrap it up there, guys. We thoroughly enjoyed this episode. Let's just keep a solid 8, 9 out of 10 going all the way through, and we'll be happy. Usual call to arms, please. A little cheeky thumbs up if you like the video, and a subscription is always appreciated. But as always, we do like comments below because we like to see and hear what you guys like and don't like. And if you get any points or stuff we missed out, please comment below. We do specials in Trek, so if there's anything you want us to discuss or cover in Star Trek in a talking head type way, please let us know. And speaking of talking heads, you don't want to see our ugly mugs, we are on any podcast platform you listen to. You can download that as well as instead of this.
Yep.
And just search for us, The Trekway as usual. We're on Twitter at The Trekway as well. But if you like kind of entertainment and stuff in general, don't forget your man Gray here. We do a show called GGR, Gray's Green Room. And again, he's on the YouTubes, he's on any podcast platform you listen to. You can get him on the old Twitters at Gray's Green Room. Last but not least, if you like a bit of gaming, because that's where we know each other from, if you can catch our colleague and friend Nick and ourselves over on our Discord, and you can get the link from, tell me that, this is extremepcuk.podbean.com. And he's got a Discord link in there. We've got a nice entertainment section where we talk things Star Trek, Marvel, DC, entertainment in general, all that good stuff. So, yeah, with that, we will call it quits there. Nice to have you back, Gray. Until next week, Gray, do your thing.
Live long and prosper.
See you later, guys. Bye-bye.